what was I talking about weeks ago? I was talking about linking up with people on Digital Vertigo.
Yeah.
So like, you know all about Digital Vertigo, obviously.
Yeah.
And at the time I came onto it, I was living in Edinburgh, and I didn't know that many people up there to do with any kind of hip hop stuff or any scratching stuff. You know, it was like I had to just sort of start again. You know, and so I started going online, found this forum. I think I was like looking to like ask a question because I felt like I was getting RSI, and I was like, "What do you do?" And I think that's probably yeah, exactly. It was Chili that responded to me and was like, "Oh, I do this," and da, da, da. So it was like, that's why I was bringing up Digital Vertigo, because it was like such a useful thing of like people are just being able to link and just getting like that kind of basic level of advice, but then also like, you know, because I sort of just became part of that community, it was like, you like learn about new stuff and post cool new video links and stuff. YouTube was going, and people would have battles still, you know. So we'd have a looper battle and make beats for a looper, and someone would program the looper. And I've been saying this to people as well, right? There needs to be a documentary about loopers, because no one else uses loopers. It's a scratch DJ thing.
Yeah, okay.
But there's a whole little subculture about it. It's kind of weird and like online, and I don't know, it's just like a weird thing. But like we'd have battles to make loopers, and then scratch battles over the loopers and stuff. So like people were always doing stuff, posting files of them scratching and getting feedback or whatever. Post a file, bitch was the meme, and like it was a dope community. And Jimmy Penguin I met through there, and Darcy, who I started Cut and Paste with, I met through there, and Adam, Cut Class, and the guys that do Super Scratch Sunday, that all happened through there. It's like Super Scratch Sunday was literally meeting up at a guy's house originally, and it became like a thing that was like it's now like an event. It's been going, I think they had their 15th year last year, and you know, you get all sorts of big names coming to do the showcases sometimes, and it's like a whole thing, you know, and it's inspired loads of other events off the back of it, you know. So it sort of became its own thing. And then Jimmy P, who would like, I met him through doing the battles and beat battles, and he would just do sound things like, "Hey, I mastered that beat for you that you'd made because I liked it," or something. And you're just like, "Oh, cool," you know. I've never had a beat mastered before, you know, like, you know, like stuff like that. And you know, just little things would you just, you know, hype each other up, you do that make you go and do something, go to an event or like link up with people, and like so much cool things happened off of that. Started going to the community scratch games, or the community scratch barbecue is the English one that happened in Brighton. We would go to that every summer, and then sort of Scratch Sunday kind of just ended up doing this. It started kind of doing the second day there. It was like we'd always end up sort of leaving early so that we could go to do the Scratch Sunday the next day. And it was like, why the hell are we leaving early from like the best scratch gig of the year? Let's just do it at the pub the next day, you know. And so it sort of like gave Jim manipulated an excuse to sort of do a second day at the barbecue, and put more acts on afterwards and stuff like that. So those two things sort of became a bit linked, and started going to community scratch games, which is the event in Galway, which I'd just got back from the last interview. And those things just all had a huge impact on me. So it was like, suddenly being able to like just go and link with loads of scratchers in real life and go to the gigs and do all this stuff. Doing the battles online. I hosted a few Scratch Sundays in Bristol over the years. And I met Darcy through that. And also Leighton was on the forums as well, because there was the Scratchworks forum and there was the Digital Vertigo forum. And that all links into Cut and Paste starting, because Leighton was on the forums. Leighton released his own scratch record called Man of War. And it was, he did like various different colors of like different colored vinyl, like there was like really fancy printing on the sleeve, and he would customize it and put your name etched on the inside. And it was like, I was like, I wasn't like, I didn't know loads about it at the time, but I knew enough about vinyl pressing to be like, there's no way that you can just do that. Like you have to like, he must like work at a factory or something. Cause you know, how could you do that without it costing crazy amounts of money, you know? And that was exactly it. Like I DM'd him and he was like, yeah, I work there so I can like do all this extra stuff and like make it happen. Yeah. At the same time, Darcy was another member of the forum and was messaging Leighton the same fucking thing. You know, he was just like, how are you, you know, there's no way you can sell this for 10 quid. Like, it's you're like, what the hell? And he's like, oh yeah, I work at a factory, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so that was Darcy. So Darcy D, I knew him just as someone on the forums. He'd moved over to the UK from Canada and it popped up on the forums. I think he was like asking for someone to lend him a Vestax for a bit, you know, as he got his shit together and stuff. And like, that's how we met. I think I'd like offered him a turntable. He got it off someone else in the end, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But we were made friends and we'd link up at Scratch Sundays and stuff. And basically, yeah, Leighton, Darcy and me found ourselves on a train and kind of like the possibility of making a record was like, oh, you could actually do this. You know, Leighton kind of explained the whole process and like what we could do. And it was like, shit, you could do that. Yeah. And so Darcy was the one that was kind of saying to me, it's like, look, you're already, like I'd already been making like my own dub plate records with just my own sound, his own skipless samples on them just for me. Because to me, it was like, it was about 40 quid to get a dub plate done. Yeah. And I was like, it cost like 20, 30 quid for like an imported Dirt Star record that I used like one or two parts of. So why not have a whole record for like not that much more? That's got all the sounds that I wanted, you know? Yeah. And basically between that and doing a few digital tools, once I started using Serato, like, and people kept asking me like, what's that scratch record and can I get a copy and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I should start a Bandcamp and sell the scratch records through that and stuff. And so Darcy was like, man, you should just be why are you doing this digital thing? Like you could be doing this on vinyl. And there's no one putting, you know, Scratch Science had kind of stopped putting new stuff out at the time. And there just wasn't any new scratch records coming out. Yeah. Vect was on the forums going like, I've got a batch of Scratch Science, you know, and they were going like hotcakes, you know, it was like, it was a gold dust, you know, yeah. Okay. So Darcy was like, man, people will buy it, you know. So we raised the money on a crowdfunder, on like a Kickstarter, and topped it up a bit ourselves with a couple $100 each or something. And did the first record at like super budget, you know, it had color labels, but like blank white sleeves. What was
the first one?
Cadence with Rhythm and Flow.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah. And it's called that because his son's called Cadence. And he said, look, you make the record, but I just want one loop on there to say Cadence with Rhythm and Flow. And I don't really care how you make it, but that's just what I want to do. I was like, cool. So like I searched high and low for the right samples because I wanted to do it with like vinyl or samples, you know. Yeah. But I couldn't find those words, and I was just like, man, I'm just gonna have to like do it on the text to speech or something. And he was like, so perfect, that's great, you know. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, that would be wicked. So I did like one of the Mac voice text to speech things from the thing, and and it worked, you know. And it was kind of I put a fresh in there, it made him say fresh as well, just as a little whatever reference. But like like people loved that there was a new record, and at the same time, like Richie Rufftone was putting out his records, like Practice Your Cuts, Turntable Training Wax. Like people thought that we were kind of in competition, but in reality, like we saw each other like most days online, on like Tiny Chat, it's like a video chat thing, and we'd use it for scratching. And like we were like building these things together and like sending each other's files, and like, you know, it was like learning off of each other, you know. So like it was kind of the opposite. There wasn't really any competition. It was all of a sudden there was two labels putting out loads of wax, and people were like, wicked, we can buy it. And the portable thing kind of happened at the same time, and so we could start selling 7-inch. It was Adam that was really so me and Darcy started it, and we put the first record out, right? And then within about a year, or later that year, I think it came out midway through 2014, and in like sort of October time, we were at DMC's. And Adam, I was staying at Adam's place, at Cut Class's house, and we got back from the DMCs and we're just like super inspired, and like basically made the whole second record. We did most of it that night at his place. We just like sampled it all in off because he got the process but like we just had all the tools at our disposal. We had loads of acapellas and stuff, and we were just like, let's just do our own one.
Yeah.
And we were like, so what do we do with it? Do we like make another label, or do we just like expand what me and Darcy have already started? And we sort of figured that would be the way to do it. And so then there was like 3 of us, and then that year, I think that's when Darcy moved back to Canada. Adam got like, he was like in between jobs or something, and he had time off, and he traveled to America, and then I got invited to Belarus by the NMCP guys, NMCP studio. We do like the ZA record stuff, and they flew me out to Belarus, and we did a couple of gigs out there, and that we realized that we were all on the same thing. Those guys like cut their own records on like a homemade record machine. Like they do the whole thing themselves, you know, it's amazing. And we had the exact same kind of method of how we arranged all the samples and how we understood it. And it proved its worth to us right there and then, because one of the shows we did was like a rave in a forest, you know, and it was like dark where we were. You know, the turntables were sort of under minimal light, you know, but we had these white stickers that showed us everything we needed to know, and I could use their record and they could use mine without ever having heard it before, and we already understood each other's, you know, because we were using the same kind of method. So it was like, that's why this is so good, you know, like we could barely have a conversation in English. You know, they were like scraping their primary school memory to remember English. I didn't speak a word of Russian, you know, so it was like, but we could still understand this thing, and it was like, that's why this is so cool, you know. So we did all these different trips in the same year. It's like 2015ish, and basically it kind of like looked like we were all over the world doing loads of stuff all the time, and it was like, wow, like cut and paste records, blah blah blah. They're doing this thing, they're doing that thing. It was just like our life circumstances happening, really. But like, but that kind of like definitely created a bit more of a buzz, and you know, people were still very hungry for new records, and so it's just, you know, the sort of ball was rolling at that point. And yeah, with the portable thing happening, people were so hungry for 7-inch scratch records at the time, and the skipless aspect of it was just so much more useful on a portable, because, you know, you're scratching on your lap or whatever, and it's, you know, they're less stable in the first place. So it's kind of like, it made even more sense for that scene.
Portable brought a lot of people to scratching for the first time. People would have cut on a road, that well they can, but they prefer to cut on a portable literally, because you don't have to buy a set of decks and a mixer and have the whole.
And like younger guys getting into it would be like they'd be. It's not so much of an investment for like a teenager or a parent buying a kid something where it's like £29, it's like. You know, what's like an Xbox is a few hundred, right? You know, so it's like, so, you know, it wasn't a crazy thing to get into for anyone really. And it was, that was definitely like a big sort of explosion in the scene, having the whole portable thing. But yeah, so that's sort of what linked me to so Cut and Paste kind of started as a result of, you know, linking through things like Digital Vertigo, Scratch Sunday, and Community Scratch, Community Scratch Barbecue, and Community Scratch Games, and like all of those things just sort of like fed into each other. You know, like it was, you know, we'd always be sort of going to, there'd be an excuse to go to some each other's events and like link up and be making a show for something, or you know, so that, it's just like loads going on all of that time. So yeah, that was like the real key thing about that like particular period of like online stuff.
What inspires you still today, but do music and scratch and all of that?
I just I've always been sort of doing some kind of artistic output. You know, when I was younger, it was more like visual stuff, and I just, once I cottoned on to like, music, and particularly just sampling and stuff, there's just something about it that just really like caught my attention. I don't know, it's just like an outlet for me, I guess. You know, I've got to express something, and so that's how it kind of comes out. And I guess there's sort of like a feeling of sort of progress, learning, something that's quite technical with like scratching is, and like you sort of, you have to be, you can be so into it, you don't have to be. I know people like Samaya that just like never practices and just somehow just does it perfectly every time, and you're just like, what's going on here?
I know Awkward's practicing a lot nowadays. He's the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think Awkward ever owned decks.
Oh.
Yeah. It's some people can just cheat.
Ridiculous. Every time he gets on, you're like, what? You haven't scratched for a year.
It's wild how some people, Jimmy P, doesn't tend to like practice, and just somehow just does amazing stuff.
I don't practice anymore, and you can fucking tell.
Yeah, you can hear it. My mate Vitaly, who's he passed away last year, sadly, but he was incredible because like he was like living somewhere where he didn't have access to turntables for like 2 years, and but he was thinking all of these scratches, right? And he like makes a lot of beats, and he like comes from like a breakdancing background, so like I guess like rhythm and stuff like that is sort of pretty intuitive to him. But like he was thinking this stuff up, right? And then we linked up in Poland for a community scratch event that went on out there, like Symatic ran it, and he just came and he just did them like first time. Like he was like, I've been thinking about this, and then just like showed us, and it was like, I thought you said you haven't had turntables for 2 years. Like, yeah, I haven't. And it was just like, how do you do that? I couldn't have just thought of it and then just executed it first time. But like,
maths is one side of it, but execution is fully different.
Yeah, because you kind of got to get. For me, it's like you get the feel slowly, and So there's that aspect to it of like how differently people get to it and come across similar things. It's just like that's kind of fascinating to me. And also just sort of like there's the way like records and the way that records kind of work has always fascinated me as well. So like I've been deep into that.
With the scratch games and stuff, then when would you have got into Scratch Lords and that sort of form?
Scratch Lords kind of. So
did you do the Belarus? Well, you went to Russia with Scratch Lords, or was that before?
Just me and Jimmy P ended up going to Russia in 2018.
You made like a documentary about it.
Yeah. It was supposed to be all 4 of us, but like for various reasons it couldn't be. So just mostly just like visas and timing. But like, so that crew. So it was a T-shirt before it was anything else. Scratch Lords was a T-shirt that at the community scratch barbecue, like each year they do a different T-shirt, and they'd have just something ridiculous on it, like a hand grenade or something, and then letters on the back like up rocker style, and like and that was like your souvenir. And you get people that still got the first one, just like, and it's just like grey and just like barely hanging on, but they're like, no, I wear it every day. But like, so one of the T-shirts, it just said on the back like the community Scratch Lords, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, like an implied it implied that they existed, but like, it was just like that was just a thing. But someone recorded like after the community scratch games scratch session, like early Monday morning in the basement studio at Jimmy's old place, and they put it out, and it was just called like the Scratch Lords, the Truth, and it's still on Bandcamp, and it's just like a raw 5 a.m. freestyle session, and Backtrack famously like sort of made a joke about it, saying like a Scratch Lord is anyone still awake in Jimmy's basement on the Monday after CSG. And that's sort of like kind of true. But there was also this other thing where there was a band called Wat Tyler's Sound Card that was Jim Manipulate, Jimmy Penguin, and DJ Chili. And it was kind of like Chili's beats, real sort of fast electro beats, and hardcore scratching with like R and Fresh, like real. So that's like 2014, 15, I think.
Because I heard Jim, must have been way before that, man, like 2011, 10.
Yeah, Manipulate's been cutting most of my life.
I was convinced it was like Q and that on a different name, like alias, right? Because it was fucking incredible. Yeah, no, those guys. That whole vibe, like seeing the CS barbecue and CSG videos was like
so that was another thing that drew me and Darcy together, is that like we were sort of experiencing that and consuming those videos at the same kind of time. And so like, you know, when we'd see each other, it's like, oh, did you see that thing? And that new one, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, loads of that stuff was super inspiring, like seeing like Jimmy and Deviant doing this thing with Serato, where they had one copy of Serato on a laptop in between them and two, a turntable each. And they're using the cue points the way that people would do now with the mixers, but like this was way before the mixers had caught up. So they were doing that. And like, I think I was talking about linking with DJM in Leeds, I lived with, and like we did a whole lot of like routine stuff, and like that was the shit like we were dreaming of being able to do, you know, and they were like just making real music with it, you know, like it's like actual, like it wasn't even just like dub hip hop, it was like, oh my God, like this is amazing, you know. And that stuff, and then watching people like Lone Wolf and Jim and Maroon, the way they cut was just like that is where it is at. Like, to me, I was like, that's and Oslo Flow, like it was just like, oh my God, like this is impossible. Like
I had to say, it was Jim and someone else. It was just hardcore electro and just fucking full on scratching. Just there was no.
But then there was just this like wild, like just weird,
and
like
the pattern. I was just like, what the fuck?
But then you get all of that on the video, and then you get like the interview, and Jim would be dressed in like all gold, where holding a gold brick, and his daughter in a gold dress, and like doing an interview. Like you're just like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, what is this?
Well, that's that reminds me of Scratch Pickles videos and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're just like, man, who are these guys? You know, and it was, and it was just quality. And like it was happening now, you know, and you were just like, this wasn't something that I felt that I was catching up to, like with the Scratch Pickles and stuff. It was like, man, we can go and see this. But that was a cool time and a cool way to get into it. And then Manipulate came and did a showcase at Scratch Sunday in Whitstable, and Scratch Sack, Gav Scratch Sack, one of those ones, and he had the link with this really sick pub that had like. It was a tiny pub with like a Function One sound system, and like the guy going around like tuning it the whole time and just like completely mentally overspec. It was great fun.
Function One and tiny was just too weird.
So it was just bizarre. But I don't know, it was just some cool pub that seemed to have the budget for that, and so we did a Scratch Sunday there. Jim did a showcase, which is still on YouTube, and it's like it was epic, and like his style of sampling vocals was a big influence on what I was kind of trying to do, because it was like you could have your Scratch Science phrases that are kind of basically saying, you know, I'm dope, want to battle me, that kind of stuff, which, you know, it's all good and that's all part of it. But I was like, these guys pick these sentences that are like, they kind of say that, but they say something else as well. There's like a different attitude to it, and there's different ways of interpreting it. It's like and there's digging going on, you know, they're getting it from weird places, and just there was something to it, and that was like inspiring me to do that. And I think when Jim did his showcase that had loads of that type of stuff, I think I had like a test pressing, or I had an early copy of Cadence, and he was liking my cuts and was also like, oh, and you're putting out records, okay, fair play. Like, why don't you come and do a showcase of the new record at the barbecue, you know? And so. And for me, that was like, oh my God, I could play at the barbecue, you know, just like a cool opportunity to do, you know, I could, through like the online thing and like Tiny Chat, the sort of video chat room, that's where I'd met all of these heads, like the Russian guys and Electro Food, who's the link in Belarus. And this was all like like Russian invasion, you know, we were still, it was all cool, like that whole link, the NMCP guys. I mean, those guys are a huge influence on it, because it's just like we just connected early, probably 2012 sort of time, and so like they were asking me about my dub plates, you know, they were like, "What's the Scratch record you're using?" You know, because they knew all about Scratch Science and all this other stuff, but you know, even back then, it was sort of like pretty tough to get stuff in Russia, you know, even if you know, you have to have a link up or whatever. They were kind of secretive about what they were doing at the time, you know, like they'd come online occasionally and it would be like this fisheye lens and all blurry, and you're just sort of like, who are these guys? They're all in shades and like, just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, they would ask me about this dub plate, and they were like, what is that? That's I don't recognize that scratch record. And I explained, I was like, and they were like, all right, who cut that? And I was like, oh, this guy Henry. And they were like, and that's what they said. And I was like, oh, so you know him? And they're like, yes. And I'm just like, okay. And they started talking a bit more about dub plate cutting and stuff. And I was like, so do you do that? And they sort of gradually kind of let on. It was like, I don't know why they were, it might have just been language barrier, but they seemed to be kind of like a bit kind of sheepish. Yeah. But at the time they were like a key piece of like underground hip hop in Russia and Ukraine and the whole of Eastern Europe and to like Germany. Cause like people, like heads were going to them to get like a cheap 7-inch cut, you know, and they could do it so much less than a lot of people, you know. And so if you were like a guy making, you know, beats on an MPC or a 404 or something, and you wanted to sell like 50 copies, you could go to them, you know, and they were just like, there was no one else doing that, you know, and so they were like these key players to that little part of the scene and in that part of the world. And you know, I started realizing that when it would be like, oh, they've done that song for that guy who's doing this, you know, you sort of piece it all together and you're just like, okay, so it's like kind of all roads are leading back to these guys, you know. After the trip to Belarus, we were like, we've got to, they had a 10-inch dub plate of Za Record 1 that they'd done, and they'd originally put out the Za loopers. So I was saying about loopers. They had these sick loopers that were like Za looper. It's like a swear word in Russian, and I can swear it means like dickhead basically, in Russian. And so it was like a joke thing to call it Za looper. And they were like, yeah, we want to do Za Records now, like and so they had a dub plate that they'd cut of it. I still got it. They gave me a copy, and it's just like, yes, it is basically that record, but like in a little miniature version. And so I was like, yeah, let's do this, but we'll put beats on the other side. Because this was another thing that me and Darcy wanted to do since the start, was like, we should be supporting the musical side of the scratch scene. You know, it can't just be endless skipless sounds, you know, like, you know, people are making all these dope beats and we're only hearing them on loopers. Like no one even knows how to play a looper, you know, let alone is going to listen to it. You know, it's not a release exactly. Some people were starting to do like a Bandcamp release along with the looper maybe, or that kind of thing, but it wasn't really a thing. But these guys, their beats were just completely like unique. They were just like, they had a Polyvox, which is kind of like that Moog you got on the picture there, but like the Russian version of it sort of thing. And they just sound amazing. And so they just use that for their bass lines and maybe like a Korg drum machine. They'd be like simple, but just like funky, you know, this kind of half speed thing. And they just sounded like they were just from space, you know. I was like, man, these guys are amazing. And other people were picking up on it. I think, so like Sean, and he does like Everything Has Gone Wrong now is his Instagram. He does like collage stuff, which is wicked if you follow that. And he does like limbo tapes and stuff like that. And me and him, when I moved back to Bristol, me and him did a night with Pete Titus as well. So him and Titus do the limbo thing now. But that kind of started, I guess, as the Ghosted night. So like we did it at the Galamalfrey, and it was kind of like Sunday night, end of the weekend vibes. It was like, if we put you to sleep, like that's the goal. Like if someone passed out in their chair, we're like, yeah, we did it. So like we'd be playing like ambient stuff, and like it was a really good excuse for me to play like the chilled turntablist stuff that you get from, you know, like Ricky Rucker and Mike Boo and stuff, and all the stuff that Jimmy had put out on his Community Scratch and Alkalinea labels, which was like, you know, some people were tuned into it, but a lot of it was going unheard, and it was just like, man, you know, you can buy this now, it's amazing. Like, you know? So yeah, like the NMCP guys, having met those, it was like, we've got to do this as a record. And so that was our first one that had like musical content on it. So we had like we had 3 beats from those guys. So I think it was basically like MQ did a beat, Knocker did a beat, Electrofood did a beat, and they put a beat of mine on there. And then the scratch side, it was all like their skipless loops, and we put some like musical sounds, so like stuff straight off of their Polyvox synth and like other stuff like that. And so, yeah, it was kind of the start of doing the musical scratch tool thing, which is something that I'd also always wanted to kind of focus on and be like, you know, Utility Phonograph by Ricky Rucker was just like, just an amazing thing. And I was like, we need more of this stuff.
One, wasn't there? Like, was it Kipski, that one?
Yeah, he did the Clocktave, and there was there was a few of these things around, but like not loads of them. And you had like the Vestax tone software or whatever it was called.
Utility Phonograph 1, 2, and 3, Bastard Language Tool 1.
Yeah, I love these things. Get them. And get them. Like back then, they called it a Bringle, so it's like a break. You call it a breaks record. It was a scratch break record, and then
What's one that's got Bringle to cover? Is it a Toadstool one?
Yeah, Toadstool. I think Flatulent Boy Confesses is officially a Bringle. Yeah, break record single. So you're kind of like putting a more, less, rather than like a 90s dirt style record that's got a looped up break off of a hip hop song or something. It's a song, it's like it's a composition, and so like those Toadstool beats, they were just like a little bit more than just a loop, sure.
I got his scratch tool as well.
And that was the other thing. So like Lorne, like Lorne was on the forums, so that was another thing where it was like, we can see this all circling back into like the real world outside of scratching, like people are actually doing stuff like, Lorne was doing amazing stuff. And Lewis James, who was part of Grandeurs of Delusion with Manipulate and with Deviant as well, and Jimmy P, I think, was also part of that. But he's done all sorts of stuff under different aliases, and like all the him and Lorne did a big video game soundtrack. I can't remember the name of it, but like
I think Lorne even played at fucking D-Stars night, didn't he? Low End Theory or whatever.
And Low End Theory was happening all throughout the same sort of time, and so that was a big inspiration for me. I remember when Adam went to America, I forced him to go to Low. He kind of wanted to go anyway, but he was like, "Oh, I might not end up going." I was just like, "Dude, you have to go, and you have to go, and you have to buy me the limited edition record."
I used to listen to that all the time. I think Awkward actually went to it as well.
Yeah, I wish I'd gone to that, because it's just like, I listened to every podcast they put out, and I was I was waiting for that to come out. That and what was the one, BTS Radio? Did you listen to that? It had like a tortoise shell, like a Mario tortoise shell logo. That was a sick radio podcast thing. Charles Munker was the guy behind the art, so it was like an artist.
Turntable Radio as well.
Turntable Radio was another one.
There was ScratchCon forum, and then D-Stars forum. And then Trick and Big Lee, and there's a couple of other people, I can't remember their names now, but they made SnatchCon.
Okay.
And everybody was on there. This is back in the day before anything else.
And this is like pre-Facebook and stuff. So like forums are like,
what we had was
they're like, they're like, it's not quite how Facebook works, but they could get pretty but they could get pretty vicious.
Yeah.
But like,
it was horrendous. If you weren't liked on there, someone's making 15 profiles. There was wild stuff happening. Broken at like Leo.
I kind of missed that, because I wasn't really online in those years. Exactly.
Then, isn't it? Shut up.
And like actually having you've played me files of like you and Ed.
I lost the Ed. I battled Luke and Ed.
Mr. Ed, and like he's played me stuff from those days, and it's like they're amazing. They were coming up with all these discs, and most of it was like
that was on Visual Vertigo to play that battle, but
but I know that like the SnatchCon and the Asysphonics stuff was going on. Like for me,
SnatchCon and Asysphonics is when like everything came out. Well, no, I think ScratchCon was where Rotten Apple, NYC, and all those people came out, and Aliosity. That's Ricky Rucker's first forum. Forum Rucker.
The beginning.
Yeah. And like Rotten Apple.
What was that? Was it that or Nick's first?
No, it was Aliosity first.
And then Nick's was later.
Then it was Nick's. Ricky Rucker,
But this is kind of before my day, like because I joined forums probably like 2008, maybe 2009, probably.
So then the UK one was SnatchCon. That was Lee and Trick. I think they ran Turntable Radio, but I might be wrong. But I know Trick was involved. Mr. Trick, and then that
Yoshi had something to do with Turntable Radio.
Yeah, he might have done. But then SnatchCon just got shut down, and I just saw the opportunity. I went on Pro Boards. I just set it up and invited everyone, and literally I had this fucking big forum, and then I got D Swift involved in it as a moderator. He did all the fucking grab with all the samurai shit, made it look dope.
D Swift was actually how I found Digital Vertigo.
Yeah, because he was like moderator, so I didn't know anything about the fucking. When I had Pro Boards, I was like learning HTML, like how do I make the top bit black? Like literally that. I didn't know nothing. Yeah. And then so I got them involved, and then we changed the name to Digital Vertigo. They put it on a different server other than Pro Boards. I think Pro Boards was totally free, but they had adverts or whatever. No one minded it. It was like everyone from Saxon just flooded it as soon as I put out the fucking, because everyone's on MSN as well, isn't it? So I just MSN'd everyone.
But that was the link, because so for me, Asis Phonics, it was either just about to get shut down or it had been shut down. And I think the way I was seeing it was because there was the Wayback Machine, the archive website.
Right, And also D-Star's forum was running back then as well.
Yeah, that was already gone. When I was online, that was but you get these like echoes of it in the Wayback Machine. So I could see some pages, you know, like that's how I got the Ever.
Brilliant,
which is the tutorials thing that Ricky Rucker made, and like
that's what happened. I think Snatchcon made an English version, and Scratchcon just faded out, and then all of them American guys, they just came up. They were all on Snatchcon. Snatchcon was sick. Like, that was the days.
For a while, it was like there was only Beat for Battle in France and the 2 UK forums, and that was like where everything was happening. And like it all spread back out into like Facebook and stuff. All the stuff I was seeing that was like the remains of Asis Phonics. You know, I'd see people like D Swift were like the only ones stepping up to Nix and Alios City or whatever, and it was like, oh, okay, there's like UK heads that are like throwing down, you know, and that's kind of what led me to Digital Vertigo in the first place.
Asked him, didn't he? He asked him if he wanted to be in their crew. I'm pretty sure Ricky or one of them asked him. He was like, nah.
Awkward did some stuff with D.
Awkward taught him how to scratch. So he was a guitarist. Like, he didn't start scratching until way late. Like, we were all scratching 90s. Awkward. I used to look up to Awkward, so I started scratching like in school, but like seriously, like 96. So Awkward and Beans were already playing out everywhere. They were sick. And then they must have taught them. So Awkward basically taught D Swift how to scratch from the beginning, and then it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, this guy's just everybody, like immediately, like literally immediately. I wasn't around in those days, to be honest. I wasn't like in that circle. They made the crew Vertebrae, right? So he was in that. Just John, Phono Veins, Awkward, D Swift, Stepchild, I think, Marshy, a few of them anyway. I was in Vertebrae later on. They changed it all, but that's when. So D Swift he was a guitarist, but then he moved up to Sheffield, and then I got to know him then when he started posting on. But he posted Stretch Animal Skin Drum, right?
I think that was the first thing I heard.
Like, I was convinced it was fucking Cuba, or it was.
Well, that was the thing, and then it was so advanced. But then, and I think that was the thing, because there was only a couple of videos, and it's because this is the thing. I never knew D Swift whilst he was alive, you know, but I'd found those videos, and they'd led me to that thing, and he'd already passed, sadly, but but it was like he was it was like a myth, because there wasn't any footage of him, and there was Stretched Animal Jones Skin, and then there was the video that like his girlfriend had posted, and it says at the beginning he'd hate me for posting this, but here it is, like, and it's just him practicing, and it's still unbelievable, like it's like on a Vestax 05 and a Technics.
There is old videos online, film and Awkward that are really old. They've been posted probably since he died.
Yeah, Orcs showed me the beat tape they did and stuff, which I'd never found before, but it's up there, But like, I mean, that video of him cutting in his room is just still just like, this is ridiculous, and it's on the up fader, everything. Like, it's just like, this guy is like one of the best ever. Like, it's ridiculous. And it turns out, so like, his brother joined the forums way later, Dan Swift. And is also amazing, right? So he's just like, hi, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of a guy called D Swift, and it's just like, he's like a god around here. And he's like, I'm his older brother, and I'm into tunes as well. I've made this mixtape, and it's just like the most amazing thing. And we're like, oh, how did you do this? And he's like, I made it all on a SP404 with no syncing or it's all just played live. And you're just like, how did you do that? Like, this sounds like a DJ Shadow album, like, but it's like fast, it's complicated, it's like really nicely mixed and everything. And you're just like, that doesn't sound like an SP404. You know, you're just like, oh yeah, I've just been doing it like forever. Dan's son also makes like amazing beats on SPs and stuff like that. Like, like it's a whole like amazing musical family. So Digital Voco, was like definitely a crucial place.